Winning the Maplewood Neighborhood Landscaping Award wasn't something I stumbled into. It was the result of 3 years of obsession, sacrifice, and more early Saturday mornings than I can count.
If you love Reddit revenge stories, subscribe. I post one every single day.
3 years of learning soil pH levels and cross-referencing bloom cycles. 3 years of kneeling in the dirt until my knees ached, training climbing roses along a cedar trellis I'd built by hand, saying no to anything that pulled me away from the one project that had given me purpose after everything else in my life had fallen apart. When the award committee walked up my front path that warm October afternoon, I stood at my window with my coffee going cold, watching them photograph my hydrangea border, my stone-lined herb spiral, my Japanese maple that had finally filled out the way I'd always imagined it would. I remember thinking, this is mine. I built this. Nobody can take this away from me. I was wrong about that last part. I moved to Sycamore Lane 3 years ago, fresh out of a divorce that had hollowed me out in ways I still don't fully have words for. I downsized into a modest ranch house, smaller rooms, smaller mortgage, a tired yard with patchy lawn, and 2 overgrown holly bushes the previous owners had simply given up on. To most people, it would have looked like a burden. To me, it looked like a blank page. I threw myself into it, the way some people throw themselves into the gym after a breakup. The garden became my therapy, my structure, my reason to get up before dawn. By the end of the first summer, I had a front bed that looked intentional. By the second spring, it looked good. By the time autumn of year 2 rolled around, neighbors were slowing their cars to look. That's when Dennis Hargrove's attitude started to shift. Dennis had lived next door since before I arrived. Mid-50s, confident, owned a contracting business. His own yard was what I'd call aggressively adequate. Neat lawn, squared edges, matching boxwoods flanking his front steps. The yard of a man who wanted no complaints and no compliments, just acknowledged competence. He'd won the Maplewood Landscaping Award 2 years running before I moved in. I didn't even know the award existed for my first several months. When I eventually learned about it from my neighbor Patricia, I wasn't particularly interested. I wasn't gardening for an award. I was gardening for the silence it gave me. Dennis and I were friendly at first. He once lent me a pipe wrench. I returned it with a 6-pack of beer. We talked for 20 minutes about irrigation systems, and I thought, decent guy, this is fine. The shift was subtle. So subtle I almost missed it. It started when I overheard him talking to Frank across the street one afternoon, while I was thinning iris near the front fence. He didn't know how close I was. "It's getting a bit much, don't you think?" Dennis was saying. Voice flat in that way people get when they're trying to sound casual about something that's eating them alive. "All that color. Very busy. Nobody needs all that." I kept my trowel moving. I told myself it was nothing, just the mild condescension of a man who found other people's enthusiasm vaguely threatening. I'd met people like that before. I should have paid more attention to the edge in his voice. Patricia nominated me for the award without telling me. I found out when a card arrived from the neighborhood association, informing me that my property had been selected for consideration. I read it 3 times standing in my kitchen. My hands were shaking slightly by the 3rd read, not from nerves, but from something that felt dangerously close to hope. The judges came on a Tuesday in October. 3 seasoned garden club members. They spent 40 minutes photographing everything: the hydrangea border, the Japanese maple, the stone path I'd laid myself with creeping thyme in the gaps, the pollinator garden along the south fence. When they left, the lead judge paused at my gate and looked back at the garden for a long moment before writing something in her notebook. She caught me watching through the window and smiled. Not a polite smile, a real one. I won the award 11 days later. I allowed myself exactly 1 minute of private happiness in my driveway. Then I went inside and tried to act like a normal person. That was Thursday. On Saturday night, while I slept, Dennis Hargrove walked into my garden in the dark with a chemical I would later identify as concentrated industrial herbicide, the kind that doesn't just kill what it touches, but sterilizes the soil so nothing can grow there again for months. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he had no idea I was watching. The first thing I noticed wasn't the dead plants. It was the smell. Sharp, chemical, wrong. Gardeners know their gardens the way musicians know songs. You notice when something is off before you can explain why. Sunday morning, 6:12 a.m. Coffee in hand, sweatshirt, cold October air pressing against my face as I stepped onto the porch. And immediately, something felt wrong. The hydrangeas. My stomach tightened. Leaves curled inward, edges blackening. No. No, no, no. I moved faster, coffee forgotten somewhere behind me. The closer I got, the worse it became. The pollinator garden. Brown patches spreading through flowers that had been thriving less than 24 hours earlier. The lavender drooped sideways. The creeping thyme looked burned. I dropped to my knees beside the herb spiral, touched the soil. Still damp, but wrong. Oily. Chemical. My pulse started climbing. Fast. No. I stood slowly, turned toward the Japanese maple. My maple. The one I'd spent 2 years shaping carefully, branch by branch. Leaf edges burned black. Not frost, not disease. Damage. Intentional damage. My breathing changed. 3 years. 3 years of work. 3 years of healing. 3 years of building something beautiful out of the wreckage of my life. I pulled my phone out instinctively. Photos. Video. Document everything. My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped it twice. By 6:31 a.m., I was sitting on my front steps staring at my garden like someone sitting beside a hospital bed after hearing terrible news. Maybe that sounds dramatic, but this wasn't just landscaping. This garden existed during nights I thought my divorce had permanently broken something inside me. It gave me structure when I had none, purpose when I couldn't find any. And now, something had poisoned it. A car door slammed across the street. Frank, walking his dog. He slowed immediately, stopped. Oh God. 3 quiet words, heavy ones. What happened? He asked. I don't know. But even saying it, something cold moved through my stomach. Because I think part of me already knew. Frank crouched near the lavender border, touched the soil, pulled his hand back instantly. What is that? I don't know. Lie. I knew enough. Chemical. Herbicide. Something industrial. Frank stood slowly. You should call somebody. Right. My phone. I called the county agricultural office first, then a landscaping restoration company. Then, almost without thinking, I opened my security camera app. I had installed cameras after someone stole Christmas packages last winter. Front porch, driveway, side garden, backyard. I almost didn't check. Part of me didn't want to know. Fear protects you from answers until answers arrive anyway. Sunday, 2:13 a.m. Side garden camera. Darkness. Wind moving branches. Nothing. 2:17 a.m. Movement. My stomach dropped instantly. A figure in a hooded sweatshirt walked slowly into my garden, carrying a large container. Not random. Not drunk kids. Careful. Purposeful. The figure knelt beside my hydrangeas, poured something into the soil, moved, poured again. Methodical. Calm. Like someone following a plan. My hands started shaking violently. The figure turned slightly. Motion light flicked on. 1 second. 1 impossible second. Dennis. Dennis Hargrove. My neighbour. The man who lent me tools. The man who smiled at me across driveways. The man who complained that my garden was too much. No. No, no, no. I replayed the footage. Again. Same result. Dennis. At 2:18 in the morning, destroying my garden. Destroying 3 years of my life. And suddenly, I understood everything. The comments. The bitterness. The edge in his voice whenever people complimented my yard. It's getting a bit much. Nobody needs all that. I sat frozen on my front steps, phone still in my hand, unable to move. Because the worst part wasn't the damage. It wasn't even the betrayal. It was realizing the person living 20 feet away had watched me rebuild my life and decided he wanted to destroy it. Then my phone rang. County Agricultural Office. I answered automatically. Hello? The woman sounded serious. Ma'am, based on your description, paper shuffled softly. Then, you may be dealing with soil sterilization chemicals. My blood turned cold. What does that mean? A pause. Careful. Professional. Gentle. It means your garden may not recover. And suddenly, this stopped being about flowers. I didn't call the police immediately. Maybe I should have. But shock does strange things to people. You think you'll react fast, clear, decisive. Instead, you sit frozen on your front steps holding your phone while your entire body struggles to catch up with reality. Dennis, my neighbour. The man who waved every Tuesday morning. The man who once helped carry bags of mulch from my truck. Dennis. I replayed the footage again and again. Same hoodie, same walk, same careful movements. No mistake, no misunderstanding. Frank stood beside me quietly. You know him? He asked. I nodded. My throat felt tight. Next door. Frank stared at the screen. Oh, hell. Yeah, that felt about right. My phone buzzed. Landscaping Restoration Company. The technician arrived 45 minutes later. Older man, grey beard, work boots, calm voice. He walked slowly through the damage, knelt near my hydrangeas, touched the soil, checked leaves, moved toward the lavender, then the maple. Quiet. Too quiet. Finally, he stood. What? I asked. No answer immediately. Never a good sign. What? I asked again. Looks chemical. I know. Strong chemical. My stomach dropped. Can it recover? Silence. Long enough to hurt. Maybe some of it. Some. Not all. Some. How bad? I asked quietly. He looked around. Really looked. Bad. One word. Heavy enough. He pointed toward the hydrangeas. Root damage likely. The lavender. Possibly gone. Then, my maple. The tree that took 2 years to shape. 2 years. I don't know yet. Somehow, that felt worse. My phone felt heavy in my pocket. The footage. Dennis. Standing in my garden. Destroying it. The technician packed his equipment slowly, then paused. You got cameras? Yeah. Good. He nodded once. Use them. After he left, I sat alone beside the stone path I'd built myself, creeping time between the stones. Brown now. Burned. Damaged. I remembered planting it, kneeling in the dirt during spring. Cold wind. Sore knees. Hope. Funny. How quickly people can damage things they never had to build. My phone rang. Patricia. Neighbour 2 houses down. Word travelled fast on Sycamore Lane. Frank told me. Her voice sounded heartbroken. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Do you know who did it? Silence. Dangerous silence. Then, yes. Another silence. Longer. Who? I stared toward Dennis's house. Perfect lawn. Squared hedges. Normal. Everything looking normal. Funny, how monsters rarely look like monsters. Dennis. Silence exploded through the phone. No. Yeah. No way. Security footage. Oh my God. Not God. Dennis. Very human. Very deliberate. Patricia spoke carefully. You calling police? Good question. Big question. My eyes moved back toward the garden. Destroyed plants. Burned leaves. 3 years. Gone. And suddenly, something settled inside me. Cold. Clear. Steady. Yeah, I said quietly. I think I am. Then, For the first time that morning, I looked toward Dennis's house and noticed his blinds moved, just slightly, like someone watching me discover it, watching what he did. And suddenly, this felt even worse, because Dennis wasn't hiding. Dennis thought he got away with it. I called the police at 11:14 a.m. Not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted a record, facts, evidence, truth. The officer arrived 32 minutes later. Officer Ramirez, late 30s, calm, observant. The kind of person who noticed details without announcing it. He walked the garden slowly. Hydrangeas, lavender, the maple, the herb spiral. "So this happened overnight?" he asked. "Yes." "You have security cameras?" "I do." We stood together in my kitchen, coffee untouched beside the sink, my hands still cold. I pulled up the footage. 2:17 a.m. Movement. Hooded sweatshirt. Container. Pouring. Methodical. Intentional. Officer Ramirez leaned closer. Silent. Watching. The figure turned. Motion light. Face visible. A long pause. "You know him?" he asked. "Next door." Silence. "Dennis Hargrove." Officer Ramirez watched it again. And again. "Looks pretty clear." Clear. Good. Because nothing felt clear anymore. "What happens now?" I asked. "We document. Photos, video, statements, evidence. Evidence mattered. People lied. Footage didn't." "Do not confront him," Officer Ramirez said. That surprised me. Why? Because people get unpredictable when consequences show up. Consequences. Funny word. Dennis poisoned flowers. But suddenly, this felt bigger. Officer Ramirez finished notes, collected copies, walked toward his patrol car, then stopped, turned back. "One more thing." "What?" "Neighborhood disputes get ugly." His eyes moved toward Dennis's house. "Sometimes uglier than people expect." After he left, I stood alone near my front window, looking out. Dennis's driveway, empty. Garage closed. Normal. Everything normal. Until 3:42 p.m. Garage door opened. Dennis's truck pulled in. My pulse changed instantly. Fast. Sharp. I watched him step out. Work boots. Baseball cap. Coffee cup. Normal. 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 Like he hadn't destroyed something beautiful 12 hours earlier. Then, he looked toward my yard, paused, just for a second, long enough, and smiled. Not friendly, not neighborly, small, satisfied. My stomach dropped. No. No, no, no. Because suddenly, I understood something worse. Dennis didn't regret it. Dennis thought he won. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? A woman's voice. Calm. Professional. Hi, this is Maplewood Neighborhood Association. Silence. Then, we need to discuss your landscaping award. And suddenly, everything got worse. I don't understand, I said. The woman hesitated. Professional. Careful. We received a complaint. My stomach tightened instantly. A complaint? Regarding award eligibility. No. What kind of complaint? Paper shuffled softly. Someone alleged portions of your landscaping were professionally installed. I froze. What? Specifically the stone pathway and pollinator garden. I couldn't breathe for a second. No. If outside contractors completed significant portions, they didn't. Silence. Dangerous silence. I built it myself. We understand. No, they didn't. We're required to review concerns before finalizing annual records. Finalizing. Records. Award. My eyes drifted toward Dennis's house. Perfect lawn, closed garage. Perfect timing. Of course. When was the complaint filed? I asked quietly. Paper moved. Yesterday evening. Yesterday. Before he poisoned my garden. Before I found the damage. My blood ran cold. He planned this. Not anger. Planning. Calculation. He wasn't trying to hurt flowers. He was trying to erase me. Ma'am? The woman asked gently. I'm here. We just need documentation. Documentation. Good. I had documentation. Photos. Videos. Receipts. 3 years' worth. Saturday morning garden progress pictures. Stone delivery invoices. Plant orders. Before and after photos. Proof. Evidence. Always evidence. We'll cooperate fully, I said. After hanging up, I opened my laptop. Folders, pictures, years of work. Spring planting photos, summer maintenance, stone installation, my knees covered in dirt, sweat, blisters. Proof. Every piece of it. Then, I noticed something strange. One email, 3 weeks old, Neighborhood Association. Subject line, Award Nomination Support Materials. Attached files. Photos. Submitted anonymously. I opened them. My stomach dropped. Professional landscaping photos. Not my yard. Stock images. Expensive commercial work. Labelled as mine. My pulse climbed instantly. No. Someone submitted fake evidence, trying to make it look like I'd lied, trying to disqualify me, trying to take the award. My phone buzzed. Patricia. You sitting down? She asked immediately. No. You should. Cold moved through my stomach. What happened? Silence. Then, I just saw Dennis. My grip tightened around the phone. Okay. He's telling people. Telling people what? Another silence. Heavy. Dangerous. That your garden died because you used illegal chemicals. No. My vision blurred. No. No. He said he warned you. My breathing changed, fast, sharp. He said the neighborhood committee made a mistake giving you the award. My chest tightened. This wasn't sabotage. Not anymore. This was reputation, community, trust, everything. Dennis wasn't covering what he did. Dennis was building a story. And suddenly, I realized something terrifying. He planned this long before Saturday night. People think bad neighbors become obvious eventually. They don't. Sometimes they smile, wave, ask how your weekend was. Monday morning, Dennis stood at his mailbox when I pulled into my driveway, coffee in one hand, newspaper tucked under his arm. Normal. Completely normal. My pulse climbed instantly. He looked over, smiled. Morning. Morning. That was it. Not guilt, not nervousness. Morning. I stared at him, really stared, trying to find it. Regret, fear, anything. Nothing. Rough seeing the garden, he said. Calm. Too calm. Real shame. My fingers tightened around my keys. You heard? Neighborhood talks. Neighborhood talks. Right. Hopefully you figure out what happened. What happened? My stomach twisted. Because suddenly, I understood something terrifying. He thought he was smarter than everyone. Smarter than cameras, smarter than evidence, smarter than consequences. Yeah, I said quietly. I think I will. For 1 second, something changed. Small, almost invisible, but enough. Then, gone. Smile back, comfortable again, safe again. He walked inside his house, closed the door, and left me standing there shaking. Not from fear, from anger. Real anger. The kind that arrives after shock leaves. My phone buzzed. Officer Ramirez. We got preliminary lab results. My stomach dropped. What did they find? Silence. Paper moving. Then, industrial soil sterilizer. Cold moved through my chest instantly. Can you prove it? Working on it. Working on it. Not enough. Not yet. But there's more, he said. Always more. My pulse climbed. What? We checked recent local commercial purchases. Silence. Dangerous silence. There was a purchase 3 days ago. My breathing stopped. No. Please no. A landscaping contractor account. Contractor. Dennis owned a contracting company. No, I whispered. Officer Ramirez stayed quiet. Careful. Professional. We're verifying. Verifying. But suddenly, I didn't need verification. Not really. Because pieces were fitting together now. Complaint. Rumors. Poison. Award challenge. Fake landscaping evidence. Planning. Not anger. Planning. Then Officer Ramirez said something that made everything worse. The purchase amount suggests he bought extra. 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 What does that mean? Silence. Too much silence. Then, it means your garden may not have been the only target. And suddenly, I wasn't just looking at my yard anymore. I was looking at the entire neighborhood differently. And for the first time since Sunday, I felt afraid. Fear changes how you see things. Monday afternoon, I walked Sycamore Lane differently. Slower, watching, looking, noticing. Mrs. Collins' flower bed, brown patches. Frank's side lawn, yellowing edges. No, 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 no. Maybe coincidence, maybe weather, maybe... Patricia opened her front door. You okay? She asked. No. Come inside. Tea, kitchen table, quiet, safe. I told her everything. The footage, the complaint, the fake photos, the rumors, Officer Ramirez, the chemicals, all of it. Patricia sat completely still. Then, oh my God. Yeah. No. Yeah. She stood suddenly, walked toward her window, looked toward Dennis's house. When did he become this person? Good question. Dangerous question. Maybe he always was. Maybe losing the award just exposed it. My phone buzzed. Officer Ramirez, again. Fast. Too fast. I answered immediately. We found something. My stomach dropped. What? Can you come outside? Outside? I stepped onto Patricia's porch. Officer Ramirez stood near my driveway, another officer beside him, and Dennis. Dennis standing beside his truck, arms crossed, calm, confident, too confident. We found chemicals, Officer Ramirez said quietly. My pulse climbed. Okay? In his garage. Silence. Heavy silence. Dennis smiled. Actually smiled. They're mine, Dennis said. Contractor voice. Professional voice. I own a business. Officer Ramirez stayed calm. We know. Dennis folded his arms tighter. Having chemicals isn't illegal. No, not illegal. Smart. Prepared. Calculated. Then Officer Ramirez said, No, it isn't. Silence. Dangerous silence. But lying to investigators is. Something changed. Fast. Small. Almost invisible. Dennis blinked. Once. Too slow. Because, Officer Ramirez said quietly, we also found something else. My breathing stopped. Dennis stopped smiling. And suddenly, for the first time, he looked nervous. Dennis stopped smiling. Small change, big difference. Officer Ramirez held a clear evidence bag. Inside, a hoodie, dark gray. My stomach dropped instantly. No way. Found it in your garage, Officer Ramirez said calmly. Dennis crossed his arms tighter. So, Officer Ramirez said quietly. We tested it. Silence. Dangerous silence. My pulse climbed. Fast. Sharp. Dennis Hargrove? Officer Ramirez continued. The chemical residue matches what was found in her garden. No. No, no, no. Not because I doubted it, because hearing it out loud made it real. Dennis laughed. Actually laughed. You serious? Completely. It's landscaping chemical. Industrial soil sterilizer. Silence. Tiny. Sharp. Officer Ramirez watched him carefully. You purchased it 3 days before the incident. Contractor business. You submitted the complaint, too. Dennis froze. Small, almost invisible, but enough. No idea what you're talking about. No? Officer Ramirez asked. We traced the email. My stomach turned. Dennis looked at me. For the first time, not smug, not confident, angry. Real anger, like somehow this was my fault. You got cameras? Dennis snapped suddenly. Officer Ramirez stayed calm. She did. Silence. Dangerous silence. People make mistakes, Dennis said. No, not mistakes. Choices. You poisoned my garden, I said quietly. No. You lied. No. You tried taking the award. His jaw tightened. No denial. Interesting. Officer Ramirez stepped forward. Dennis Hargrove. Quiet. Professional. Final. You're being formally charged pending full investigation. Silence. No neighborhood noise. No cars. Nothing. Just silence. Dennis looked toward his house, then mine, then, for 1 second, something broke. Not regret, not guilt. Control. The thing he thought he'd never lose. Gone. Completely gone. And suddenly, for the first time since Sunday, I could breathe again. Then Dennis looked directly at me, eyes cold, dangerously cold. And quietly, almost calmly, he said, "This isn't over." My blood turned cold, because suddenly, I knew something worse. Dennis still thought he could win. "This isn't over." Dennis said it quietly, which somehow made it worse. Not angry, not loud. Certain. Like a man who still believed he controlled the ending. Officer Ramirez heard it too. I saw it immediately. That tiny shift. Professional. Alert. You need to leave it alone, Dennis, Officer Ramirez said calmly. Dennis laughed once. Short. Sharp. Leave what alone? No answer. Didn't need one. The officers left 20 minutes later. No handcuffs. No dramatic scene. Just paperwork. Questions. Evidence. Reality moving slowly. Too slowly. Dennis walked inside, closed his garage, and suddenly, Sycamore Lane felt different. Unsafe. Patricia walked over almost immediately. You okay? No. Yeah. Lie. Bad one. You can stay with me, she said quietly. I'm okay. You sure? No, not even a little. That night, I checked my security cameras 3 times, locked windows twice, slept badly. At 1:43 a.m., I woke up. Silence. Wrong silence. My phone. Security alert. Motion detected. Front yard. Cold exploded through my chest instantly. No. No, no, no. I opened the camera app. Darkness. Wind. Nothing. Then, movement. A shadow near my mailbox. Hood. Gloves. My breathing stopped. Not Dennis. Too small. Too thin. The figure moved quickly, dropped something, then disappeared. Gone. 30 seconds, maybe less. I grabbed my flashlight. Phone. Keys. Front door. Cold air hit immediately. Mailbox. Driveway. Nothing. Then, near the stone path, an envelope. Plain white. No stamp. No name. My hands shook before I even opened it. Inside, one picture. Printed. My garden. Before. Beautiful. Healthy. Alive. Across it, black marker. 3 words. Should have stopped. My blood turned cold. No. No, no, no. There was something else. Smaller. Folded. Paper. I unfolded it slowly. 1 sentence. Typed. No handwriting. No signature. You only caught one of us. My knees nearly gave out. One of us. Us. Plural. Not Dennis. Not alone. Suddenly, the poison, the rumors, the fake complaint, the lies. Everything felt bigger, worse, organized. And for the first time, I realized something terrifying. Dennis wasn't the whole problem. Dennis was just the neighbor I caught. I didn't sleep. Not after the note. Not after, you only caught one of us. One of us. Those words sat inside my head all night, growing, changing, getting worse every time I replayed them. By 7:04 a.m., Officer Ramirez was standing in my kitchen, coffee untouched beside him. The envelope sat between us. The picture, the note. Evidence. Always evidence. You sure nobody else has issues with you? He asked. No. Too fast. Too certain. Because suddenly, I wasn't certain. Maplewood wasn't a big neighborhood. People talked. People smiled. People waved. But people also noticed, judged, compared. I won a landscaping award, I said quietly. Not a lawsuit. Officer Ramirez didn't smile. Sometimes recognition creates problems. Recognition. Jealousy. Resentment. I hated that he might be right. He lifted the photo carefully. No fingerprints. Of course not. Professional. Prepared. Planned. My phone buzzed. Patricia. Then Frank. Then Emily Collins. Same message. Different houses. Same problem. Plants dying. Brown patches. burned edges. No, 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 no. I looked at Officer Ramirez. His face changed immediately. What? 3 neighbors. Silence. Dangerous silence. 3 neighbors just texted me. My stomach dropped. No, not 3. Please, not 3. Officer Ramirez grabbed his notebook. Fast now. Focused. Who? Patricia. Frank. Emily Collins. The room suddenly felt smaller, harder to breathe, because suddenly, this wasn't personal anymore. Or maybe it was worse. Maybe it had always been personal, just bigger than I realized. Officer Ramirez stood immediately. I need to make calls. What does this mean? Silence. Careful silence. Then, it means Dennis may not have been protecting an ego. Cold moved through my chest. What? He looked toward my ruined garden, then back at me. It means we may be looking at something organized. Organized. My blood ran cold. No neighborhood landscaping award mattered this much. No flowers. No trophy. No garden. Officer Ramirez's phone rang. He answered immediately. Listened. Silent. Then, his expression changed. Sharp. Focused. Dangerous. What? I whispered. He looked up slowly. We found surveillance footage. My pulse climbed instantly. From where? Community entrance camera. Silence. Long silence. Then, the person who left your note. I couldn't breathe. Who was it? Officer Ramirez stared at me, long enough to hurt. Then quietly, you know her. Her. Not him. Her. And suddenly, everything changed. Her. Not him. Her. Officer Ramirez sat quietly for a second, like he was deciding how much to say. My stomach twisted. Who? I asked. Silence. Too much silence. Officer Ramirez, you need to stay calm. No. No, no, no. Who? He exhaled slowly. Patricia. The room disappeared. Not literally, but enough. No. I'm sorry. No. Patricia. Tea in her kitchen. Comfort. Support. You can stay with me. No. Absolutely not. That doesn't make sense. We checked footage from the community entrance. My pulse climbed. Fast. Sharp. No. Vehicle matched. No. No, no, no. My mind replayed everything. The nomination. The encouragement. The calls. The sympathy. Too much sympathy. Like someone standing close enough to watch damage happen. No, I whispered again. Officer Ramirez slid his phone toward me. Security footage. Community entrance. 1:28 a.m. Patricia's SUV. Leaving. Returning. 2:41 a.m. My stomach folded into itself. No. My voice sounded smaller now. Broken. Not Patricia. Please, not Patricia. Then, something hit me. Hard. Fast. Dennis said one of us. Officer Ramirez nodded slowly. Cold moved through my chest. No. 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 They know each other. We're looking into it. No. Not neighbors. Not this. Not both. My brain fought it, rejected it, but pieces were moving now. Fitting. Patricia nominated me. Patricia knew everything. Patricia knew camera locations, schedules, habits. Patricia knew where to hurt. My phone buzzed. Patricia. Incoming call. My hands shook instantly. No, Officer Ramirez said. Don't answer. The phone rang. Again. 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 Then, voicemail. A text. Call me. Emergency. Emergency. Funny word, because suddenly I realized something terrifying. Patricia didn't know we knew. Yet. Officer Ramirez stood immediately. Fast. Focused. Professional. We need to move carefully. Why? Because desperate people make dangerous decisions. Dangerous. My ruined garden. The note. The lies. Dennis. Patricia. Two people. Together. Planning. Watching. And suddenly, for the first time, I wasn't thinking about flowers anymore. I was thinking about survival. I didn't answer Patricia. Not the call, not the text, nothing. For the first time since moving to Sycamore Lane, I locked my doors in daylight. Funny how betrayal changes ordinary things. The couch where Patricia drank tea, the kitchen where we laughed, the front porch where she'd complimented my flowers. Every memory felt different now. Rewritten. Poisoned. Officer Ramirez stayed another 20 minutes. Extra patrols. Keep cameras running. Don't answer the door alone. Simple instructions. None of them made me feel safer. By afternoon, the neighborhood knew. Not everything, just enough. Police, questions, rumors, people standing in driveways pretending not to watch. Maplewood had always loved stories. Now, I was one. At 4:17 p.m., another security alert. Motion detected. Front porch. My blood turned cold instantly. No. No, no, no. I opened the camera app. Patricia. Standing there. Alone. Holding something. A folder. She knocked once. Twice. Then she looked directly toward my camera, like she knew. My phone rang immediately. Officer Ramirez. Do not open the door. I wasn't planning to. We're on our way. We. Plural. Good. Very good. Patricia knocked again. Longer this time. Then, something happened. A truck pulled onto Sycamore Lane. Dennis. My stomach dropped. No. 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 Patricia stepped off my porch, walked toward him. Fast. Too familiar. too comfortable. Dennis got out. They started arguing. Not quietly. Arms moving. Sharp movements. Panic. Real panic. Officer Ramirez had been right. Desperate people. Dangerous decisions. Then, Dennis pointed toward my house. Patricia shook her head. Hard. Fast. Fear. Actual fear. Not mine. Hers. Police lights turned onto Sycamore Lane 30 seconds later. Everything exploded at once. Dennis moved. Fast. Toward his truck. Patricia yelled something. Officer Ramirez stepped out. "Dennis!" Silence. Heavy. Neighborhood doors opening. People watching. Sycamore Lane holding its breath. Then, Patricia said 6 words. 6 words loud enough for everyone to hear. It wasn't supposed to get this bad. And suddenly, everything changed. Nobody moved. Not immediately. Dennis froze beside his truck. Patricia stood near my walkway. Officer Ramirez watched both of them carefully. It wasn't supposed to get this bad. Those words hung there. Heavy. Dangerous. What wasn't? Officer Ramirez asked calmly. Patricia looked terrified. Actually terrified. Dennis didn't. Dennis looked angry. Worse. Much worse. "Patricia," Officer Ramirez said quietly, "talk to me." She shook her head immediately. "No." "Patricia?" "No." Dennis stepped forward. "She doesn't know anything." Too fast. Too protective. Officer Ramirez noticed too. Interesting. Very interesting. Then, Patricia said something that made my blood turn cold. He said it would just hurt the flowers. Silence. Complete silence. Dennis turned instantly. "Patricia?" "No." Her voice cracked, shaking now. Real fear. "He said she'd replant." "No. No, no, no." "He said it wasn't dangerous." Officer Ramirez moved slowly, professional, controlled. "Dennis?" But Patricia wasn't finished. "He made fake pictures." My stomach dropped. "He filed the complaint." "I said stop talking," Dennis snapped. No more calm. No more confidence. Control. Gone. Completely gone. Patricia started crying. Real crying. Not performance. Not sympathy. Fear. Guilt. Regret. "I didn't know about the chemicals," she whispered. My chest tightened, because suddenly I understood. Dennis planned. Patricia followed. Not equal. Not innocent. But not equal. "He told me she'd ruin the neighborhood," Patricia said quietly. "He said people only cared about her garden." No. Not flowers. Never flowers. Attention. Recognition. Ego. Dennis looked smaller suddenly. Not because he changed. Because truth removes illusion. Officer Ramirez stepped closer. Dennis Hargrove. Quiet. Professional. Final. "I need you to turn around." Dennis laughed. actually laughed. One short broken sound. Then, for the first time, he looked at me. Really looked. Not angry, not smug, defeated. "You think this was about flowers?" he said quietly. Cold moved through my chest, because suddenly I realized something terrifying. This started long before the landscaping award, long before my garden, long before Maplewood, and somehow I knew. The divorce, the move, me coming here. Dennis had hated me long before I understood he existed. "I don't even know you," I said. My voice sounded smaller than I wanted, because suddenly, nothing made sense anymore. Dennis laughed again. Short, tired, broken. "No," he said quietly. "You don't." Officer Ramirez stayed beside him, watching, waiting, professional. "What does that mean?" I asked. Silence. Dangerous silence. Patricia looked confused now too. Good. Because suddenly, she wasn't part of the plan anymore. She was hearing it too. Dennis looked toward my ruined garden. The hydrangeas, the maple, everything broken. Then he looked at me. "You moved here 3 years ago." "Yes." "You bought that house." Cold moved through my chest instantly. My house? What did my house have to do with anything? "My wife wanted it." Silence. Sharp, heavy, dangerous. No, 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 no. Officer Ramirez didn't interrupt. Good. Because suddenly, I needed to hear this. "Before she got sick," Dennis said quietly. "Before treatment." My pulse climbed instantly. Fast. Wrong. My wife loved gardening. Something shifted inside me. Hard, fast, wrong. She wanted that house because of the yard. Silence. Long enough to hurt. "She died 6 months before you moved in." No. My chest tightened. No. No, no, no. And then, his voice cracked. First crack all day. First real thing. "You bought it." The neighborhood felt silent, watching, listening, breathing together. My wife never got her garden. No, no, not this, anything but this. So I watched yours grow. His eyes moved toward the damaged plants. I watched people stop and compliment it. No. I watched you win. "Dennis," Patricia whispered. No. His voice sharper now, breaking. "She should have had that." Pain. Real pain. Dangerous pain. The kind that turns into something ugly if people hold it long enough. Officer Ramirez spoke carefully. "That doesn't justify this." No. Dennis nodded slowly. No. For the first time, no excuses, no lies, just truth. Late, broken, but truth. "I hated her," he whispered, not loudly. Worse, quietly. I know. My blood turned cold. Not the garden, not the award. Me. I hated how easy she made it look. Easy. I almost laughed. 3 years. Dirt. Blisters. Healing. Nothing easy. You smiled. Silence. You rebuilt. His voice cracked harder now, and my wife didn't get to. No anger left, only grief, rotting, poisoning everything around it. Patricia wiped tears away quietly. Officer Ramirez stayed silent, professional, steady, and suddenly, standing there, looking at Dennis, I realized something terrifying. He didn't destroy my garden because he hated me. He destroyed it because he couldn't destroy grief. Nobody said anything. Not right away. Because sometimes truth lands so hard, people need silence to survive it. Dennis stood beside his truck, shoulders lower now, smaller somehow. Officer Ramirez stayed calm, professional, steady. Patricia wiped tears from her face. The neighborhood watched. Doors open. People standing in driveways, pretending not to stare. Nobody fooled anyone. "What happens now?" Patricia whispered. Good question. Big question. Officer Ramirez answered quietly. "We continue the investigation." Investigation. Evidence. Chemicals. Security footage. Fake complaints. Property damage. Everything suddenly felt very real. Dennis looked toward his house. The same house he'd lived in for 20 years. The same driveway. The same lawn. Only now, nothing looked stable anymore. "I didn't mean," Patricia started. Dennis closed his eyes. Not angry, not defensive. Tired. Dangerously tired. "Stop," he said quietly. "No," Patricia shook her head. "You told me she'd recover." My chest tightened. "You said the flowers would die." Her voice cracked harder. "You never said the soil." "I know what I said." Silence. Heavy. Officer Ramirez wrote something down. Patricia looked toward me. Eyes red. Ashamed. Good. She should be. "I nominated you," she whispered. "I know." "I thought—" She stopped, started over. "I thought helping Dennis a little wouldn't matter." Helping. Funny word. Then it got bigger. The fake complaint. The rumors. The lies. Small things. Growing. Becoming something uglier. Dennis finally looked at me again. Different now. Not jealousy. Not anger. Exhaustion. The kind grief leaves behind when people carry it too long. "My wife would have hated this," he said quietly. Nobody answered. Because nobody needed to. We all knew. Officer Ramirez stepped closer. "Dennis Hargrove." Professional voice. Final voice. "We're going to need you to come with us." The neighborhood held its breath. No fight. No yelling. No dramatic moment. Some consequences arrive quietly, almost gently. Dennis looked toward my ruined garden one last time. The hydrangeas, the maple, the lavender. Destroyed things, beautiful things. things that didn't deserve what happened to them. Funny, how that applied to more than flowers. As Officer Ramirez opened the patrol car door, Dennis stopped, turned slightly, looked at me, not angry, not broken, just tired. I really did hate that garden. Silence. Dangerous silence. Then quietly, "So why do I miss looking at it already?" And somehow, that hurt worst of all. The neighborhood felt strange after Dennis left. Quieter. Not peaceful. Just different. Like Sycamore Lane had lost something nobody realized it was carrying. Tuesday morning. I walked my garden slowly. Damage everywhere. Brown edges, dead lavender, burned soil. My maple, my beautiful maple. The landscaping restoration team arrived at 9. 2 trucks, 3 specialists, clipboards, testing kits, careful voices, professional silence. The oldest technician knelt beside my herb spiral, studied the soil, moved slowly toward the maple. Then, something changed. "What?" I asked immediately. No answer. He brushed dirt carefully away near the base of the tree. Roots. Stone. Wood. No, not wood. A box. Small. Weathered. Buried. My stomach tightened instantly. "What is that?" "No idea," he said quietly. Carefully. Carefully. He lifted it out. Old cedar. Metal latch. Worn from time. Not new. Years old. Maybe decades. My pulse climbed. Fast. Sharp. Wrong. The technician handed it to me. "You should open it." My hands shook instantly. The latch resisted. Then, opened. Inside, photos, garden sketches, plant lists, notes, handwriting. Beautiful handwriting. My chest tightened. No. No, no, no. A folded letter rested beneath everything else. Yellowed paper, carefully preserved, written across the front, "For whoever lives here next." Cold moved through my chest. No. Impossible. My hands shook harder now. Slowly, carefully, I unfolded it. The first line hit harder than anything else. "Hello, stranger. If you're reading this, it means someone loved this yard after me." Tears blurred everything instantly. The technician quietly stepped away, giving space, giving silence. I kept reading. My name was Eleanor. This garden saved me during hard years. If life ever becomes too heavy, plant something. Water it. Wait. Healing likes patience. My vision blurred harder. No. No. Dennis's wife. Her. The woman who never got her garden. The woman I somehow felt like I knew suddenly. There was more. One final paragraph. The words nearly broke me. Gardens aren't ownership. They're stewardship. We borrow beauty, then leave it for someone else. Love whoever comes next. My knees gave out, right there beside damaged soil, broken plants, destroyed roots, because suddenly everything changed. Not Dennis, not grief, not anger, everything. And for the first time, I realized his wife would have loved my garden. And somehow, that made losing it hurt even more. 6 months later. People think healing feels dramatic. It doesn't. Healing looks ordinary, small, quiet. Tuesday mornings. New growth where dead things used to live. The county approved soil restoration treatments. Expensive. Slow. Worth it. Some plants didn't survive. The lavender. Gone. Part of the hydrangea border. Gone. But not everything. The Japanese maple lived. Barely. Stubborn. Beautiful. Like it refused to surrender. Funny. I understood that feeling. Neighbors helped rebuild. Frank rebuilt sections of the stone border. Emily brought pollinator plants. Even Patricia helped. Quietly. No speeches, no excuses. Just work. Real work. The kind that matters. Dennis accepted a plea agreement, community service, restitution, mandatory counseling. I didn't go to court. Didn't need to. Some endings don't require witnesses. Patricia moved 3 streets over, not because people forced her, because guilt sometimes changes where people can comfortably exist. Spring arrived slowly, then all at once. One April morning, coffee in hand, I stepped outside, stopped, smiled. A single lavender bloom. Impossible. Small. Purple. Alive. I laughed, actually laughed. 6 months ago, I would have cried. Growth changes people. I walked toward the maple. Healthy leaves now. Green. Bright. Hopeful. Beneath it, a small cedar box. Protected now. Safe. Eleanor's letter rested inside, alongside something new. My own letter, for whoever comes next. Because Eleanor was right. Gardens aren't ownership. They're stewardship. We borrow beauty, then leave it behind. The Maplewood Neighborhood Association asked if I wanted to enter the landscaping competition again. I said no. Not because I was afraid, because I didn't need it anymore. Healing changed that too. Late afternoon, Patricia stopped by. Awkward. Nervous. Holding a small plant. Lavender. I thought maybe, she said quietly. I looked at it, then at her. People break things. People repair things too. Sometimes both. Thank you, I said softly. She nodded, left quietly. No dramatic apology, no perfect ending. Real life rarely gives those. That evening, wind moved softly through the garden. New flowers, old roots, second chances. I looked around slowly. The maple, the hydrangeas, the stone path. Different, Not what it used to be. Better somehow. Stronger. Near the front walkway, a small plaque rested beside fresh blooms. Simple. Quiet. 3 words. Borrow beauty gently. And for the first time since all of this started, Sycamore Lane felt like home again.